Hi, folks. Welcome back. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about some connections between chords that are kind of cool. That I came across some of these on my own, and some of them I just kind of, you pick up different chords in books or seeing people play them in videos or in concert, and but sometimes you make connections after the fact, and there's a couple of cool connections I just kind of stumbled onto through the years, I guess. And one of those is that there's a little tritone being the interval of a sharp 4 or a flat 5. In Bach's era, it was known as the devil's interval. But anyway, maybe that's why the blues is known as the devil's music once upon a time. But at any rate, if you take here at the 5th fret an A7, a dominant, altered. It's not altered, it's just a dominant 7 chord. Well, actually, if you go, you have a 1 on the bar chord I'm talking about here. So 5th fret, it's just like that. Those of you who are studying the caged, it's like the E chord moved up to the 5th fret, played with a bar. E7 chord, I guess. And because you're taking that finger off and letting the bar play that flat 7 note. Tonic, major 7, flat 7. You play with the bar, you get all 6 strings. You can double the 7th with your pinky if you want to, or you can leave that off and let the 5th get doubled. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5th. So anyway, so the part of that chord I'm talking about is this part on the D and the G string. It's really just the 5th fret of the D string and the 6th fret of the G string. Notice how I just took that same interval, slid it back, changed that finger and pull that finger over there, and now you got the bottom of a D9 chord. You take your D7, which is of course just the A7 moved up to the 5th fret, if you're into the caged thing. And so the way to alter that D7, D dominant 7 chord is to add the 9, and if you do it like this, it's like where you bar with your ring finger for the first 3 strings on the 5th fret. Then you get the 3rd there. It's kind of like an alteration on the you move the C7 up 2 frets and you got the D7. And then if you actually play that bar there, you get the 9th. So that's you get the flat 7 and the 9, and that's a really very common blues chord. Then back to, so basically it's that interval. You just move it down for the 4 chord. A7 being the 1 chord, D9 being or D7 being, or 9 being the 4 chord, and E7 being our 5 chord there. So if you'll notice, then after you play the 4 chord, you come back up if you're playing 12-bar blues. So, you go D9 being your, that same interval on your 4 chord there. Then you move back up to your 1 chord. Do something to it if you want to. Then you go into the 5 chord. You just take that same interval up 1 more fret from where and you can add the middle finger on your 7th fret of the A string for and play the entire E9 if you like, or then you can go back down to the D9. Then you're back to your A7, D9. E9. Well, you'll notice you can take that up a half step. Sometimes it's cool to do. Go to that E9. You can hit that E note in the bottom. basically you can play that 1, 4, and 5 chord with just this one interval. 5th fret there, then for the 1 chord, the A7, go down to the 4th fret for the D9, back up there for the A7 and for the E9, go to the 6th fret, back down to the 4th fret for the D9, back to the tonic, and then land it on your 5 chord. So that's one spot you can play it. And the cool thing about this is you can move it all over the neck, and it's really interesting. There's all kinds of cool things you can do with it. But so that's one spot to play it. But if you'll notice, that same interval occurs way down low here. That's kind of low and muddy and bassy, but there may be occasions, especially if you're further up the neck, a different key, for instance, where those fingerings would come in handy as well. Another really cool one is right here. Basically, you just go back a fret and you get the same chord, believe it or not. So here you got this, it's a flat, tonic, flat 7, 1, 2, 3. This is your third, so you got your flat 7 and your tonic. But you can also be playing the 1, 7 down here, where your third is the bottom note and the flat 7 is the top note. So you can do it this way or that way, and it works either way. You can still move it down a half step and you get the 4 chord. And there and up here, when you had the flat 7 and the third of the 4 chord, I'm sorry, it was actually here's what happens, okay? This is a little bit tricky, but when you're playing it in this position here, the bottom note of that one interval there is the flat 7, the top note is the third of the chord. On the 1 chord, when you slide it down a half step for the 4 chord, now you're playing a D7 basically, an alter, or a D altered, which would be a D9 or whatever. You could D13, you could change it to all kinds of stuff. You get D9 flat 5, or D flat 9 rather. So anyway, but long story short, when it's the 4 chord, the bottom note is actually not the flat 7, but it's the third, and the top note's a flat 7. So when you go from the 1 to the 4 chord, the notes of the chord flip-flop on the 4 chord. So now I'm flat 7, third on the top. Go to the 4 chord, I got the third on the bottom, flat 7 on the top. And when you go up to the 5 chord, it's the same as the 4 chord. It's the third on the bottom, flat 7 on the top, third on the 7, third on the bottom, flat 7 on the top, flat 7 on the bottom, third on the top. So anyway, you don't even have to think about all that though to use this interval. But when you take it down to here, then you're flip-flopping all of that from the 1 to the 4 and the 5. Now I'm starting with the third in the bottom and the flat 7 on the top and my 1 chord, right? This is A, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, tonic, so 3 flat 7. Now I'm going to the D chord. Now we're back to, remember up here we were playing the D here. This was a flat 7. Well, if I go down, that's an octave down. That's the flat 7 there. And the third is still where it was. But now it's on the top. It flip-flops. And then when you go up here to E, it's the same way. You got the flat 7 on the bottom, third on the top, flat 7, third on the bottom, top, third on the bottom, flat 7 on the top. A little tricky, I know, but it's fun stuff. And you can expand that on out. You can take that one interval, add a 6th on top for like a 13 chord, or you can add the 9th on top and that 5 up there again. On the 4 chord, if you want, put the bass in the bottom. Back to the 13th chord over the 1. You can add that 9 on top on the E string on the 1 chord if you want. 9 again there. And if you do it, if you wanted to go, when you go to that 5 chord, you'd hit that 9. It's actually a sharp 9. It's an E7 sharp 9. Back to the 9. So you can build on this interval to make other altered dominant chords. And so when you're doing it down here, with the tonic having the one chord having the flat, the third and the bass, you can play the ninth chord like that. Like instead of playing your 1 dominant 7, you play start. It's a really popular way to play a blues 9 chord. Some cats. It's where you just basically it's the same chord as that A9 with the third and the bass up here at the 12th fret, except it's down an octave. So you can build that interval up on the 1 chord if you want to do that lower devil's tonic, devil's interval. Then you can, when you go down to the 4 chord, you can play that. It's a really kind of a nice 6th, or you can just keep the 7th there, or you can play the 5th of that 4 chord. But your flat 7's in the bass, which is what makes it sound kind of cool. Up to your 5 chord, or 5/6, or 5/7. I like the 6 chord back to the 9. So then you can actually, instead of playing your D9 there, you can jump it up here, up the neck. Do the same fingering I'm doing down here with the 1 chord. And another good way to slide this chord around is if you want to do a little slide. Slide up to that same fingering, which is the same as that 9th chord there. There you can put the tonic on top as well. If you start switching these things around, like in other words, coming up here, playing the 1 chord up here at the 12th fret, and then going back here to the 9th fret to get that 4 chord that you were doing down here at the 4th fret, then watch what happens with that devil's interval there. It's all over the place, so you'd be right 9th chord. You could do your, instead of doing it there, you could also do it do like a D 13 chord there, back to your A9, and then let me see, it's actually blue. Do a little thumb over there maybe. So different places to play these, and you'll see that interval showing up all over the place. Here you So you can just slide in that one little interval back and forth. You can do a 1-4-5 all day long, guys. And if you do this and here, then you can just, let's see. So whereas down here, you're using the 1 chord, and it's on the middle 2 strings, D and the G. There, you have the flat 7 on the bottom, 3rd on the top. Up here, when you do up here, you got it the other way around, 3rd on the top. third on the bottom, flat 7 on the top. Go to the 4 chord, it's flat 7 on the bottom, third on the top. 5 chord, flat 7 on the bottom. That's an E chord. Third on the top. D7 chord. Back to your third on the bottom, flat 7 on the top. So anyway, that's just a little bit of trying to shine a little light on these this one interval that works pretty cool in a 1-4-5 blues setting. Okay, it doesn't have to be a slow blues, guys, like I'm doing here. You get to works for any tempo blues you want to do, and it's really cool when you get into mixing that in with some lead work as well. It's kind of cool. You can do kind of a little rolling stuff like. So anyway, you can take it a lot of places. Hope you have fun with it. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Chuck Jones Music, and hit the notification bell, and check back in. I'm trying to roll out a video about one a week at least anyway. Try to get that number up here one of these days. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Y'all have a wonderful rest of the day.